I'm Dave Cawley, investigative journalist and host of the podcast Cold. Don't miss Cold's new Season 3, where I look into the unsolved disappearance of Cherie Warren, a woman last seen leaving her job at a Salt Lake City office in 1985. Police cast suspicion on Cherie's estranged husband and boyfriend, but never made any arrests or recovered Cherie's remains. Find Cold Season 3, The Search for Cherie, anywhere you get your podcasts.
Hey, welcome to Project Recovery, a podcast about addiction. More importantly, it's a podcast about recovery. I'm Casey Scott, and if you need some help like I did, why not give Pinnacle Recovery Center a call? They'll help you out on your road to recovery. Today's episode is pretty powerful. We're going to be talking with Lauren Llewelyn, and the last name might sound familiar because her dad was on June 18th. So we're going to talk about that in just a second, but first, let's go to Dr. Matt. Dr. Matt?
Happy birthday, Casey!
Oh! Facebook told you?
Your girlfriend.
Oh, she sent you a text?
Well, yeah. We sometimes she and I just like to chat.
Oh, that's really?
About things, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's another conversation we'll
You
have.
didn't know that?
No.
Okay.
I didn't know she had your number.
Yeah, well. No, she messaged me through Facebook.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
She doesn't spend a lot of time on Facebook.
Well, apparently if she wants to talk to somebody, she knows how to do it.
Or maybe that's just how to get a hold of a doctor.
Right?
Hey, you are a doctor, right?
Yeah. We haven't been faking that this whole
Because I want to
year.
show you something.
Yeah?
And hopefully you can tell me what it is, okay?
Okay.
Hold on, I got to stand up.
Do you want to know what kind of doctor I am?
No, look.
Uh-huh.
So I've been wearing slacks a lot lately, right?
Okay, he's now
What's the
zipping
second
down.
button for? I know what the first button's for,
Yeah.
but what's the second button for? Doesn't that seem like...
The clasp?
Well, so that one...
No, it holds it firm across the front.
But is that only on slacks? Cause
Yes. Those are only on fancy slacks.
Because I've been wearing a lot more slacks lately.
You're talking about the button and the slide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it okay just to do the slide?
It'll slump if it'll bow in the middle if you do that.
Okay.
Yeah, so this prevents the bowing.
Okay.
In the middle.
Well, I knew you would know the answer because you're a doctor.
Right, yeah, we covered that in third year. Yeah.
Okay, so do you want me to open my gift now?
Yes, so I want you to know a lot of effort and thought went into this. There's kind of a theme. I want you to see if you can guess the theme.
So there's a lot of red paper.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a Nerf Pocket Vortex Howler.
It's like a little football with the tail on it.
And you throw it and it screams.
Uh-huh.
That's what
Right.
the howler part is, okay?
Uh-huh.
Swedish fish.
Right, now there's two kinds. You got your standard.
I love.
Big bag.
Yeah, love me Swedish fish.
I know you do. And then we have
Mini tropical.
tropical flavors, right?
I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So, they say variety is the spice of life.
That it is.
Okay. Now this is a stretchy banana.
A squishy banana.
No, it's a stretchy banana.
stretchy banana.
Stretchy banana.
At my house, they're known as squishy bananas. But yeah.
Okay, I like that. We're going to find out. Oh, some Slim Jims. Step
Right.
into a Slim Jim.
Yep.
Okay. And some football fun shades.
Yes.
Okay.
Sunglasses that look like a football.
And so the theme, I'm guessing, of all this stuff put together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the first thing that pops into my mind is stuff you find at Maverick.
But I told you, for your birthday, I went beyond the Mavericks and the 7-Elevens. I went all the way to Smith's.
Okay.
Right? So high quality.
Things to keep me busy during the Super Bowl.
There you go.
Right?
Exactly. Yep. That's
I love it.
There you go. You can play a little catch with your howler football. You can rock those shades because I know that's going to look good.
Stretch my banana.
You can play with your stretchy banana
Yeah.
and a Slim Jim. So however you want to think of it.
No. I'm thinking about it, buddy. Thank you very much. It means the world to me. I appreciate it.
Hey, I go all out for my friends.
Obviously.
Yeah.
And there's something so kind of cool right now being 46 and having a new outlook on life.
Yeah?
I feel like I'm 20 and the whole world is ahead of me. And it's
That's
with
great.
the help of Pinnacle Recovery and you guys and this thing called sobriety that is really just kind of giving me a little vim and vigor. And I'm ready to go.
I had a conversation recently with a person not related to the show in any way, but he's in recovery.
Uh-huh.
And he told me, he said he's only a little bit ahead of you, like 2.5 years. And he said, one of the things that he's just so surprised is his energy level.
Yeah.
He said he just could not believe, and what you just said reminded me of that. He's about our age, and he said, I feel like I'm in college again. Like all that energy and positive, healthy energy just because his body is so, healthy now. And he was surprised that he felt so much energy. How about you?
So I used to be a big fan of the nap, and it was an unwritten rule around the house. If Dad's napping, you don't mess with him because I needed these naps. Now, I'm not one of these guys that go for a 15-minute nap. No, I mean, when I was napping, it was an hour to hour and 45 minutes.
Right.
And just recharge my body.
Serious nap.
Yes. I'm going to get into some REM. I'm going to recharge that body.
Forget what day it is when you wake up.
Right?
Right? Yeah.
Look at the clock. Hey, is it 6 in the morning or 6 at night? I don't know because I've been napping.
Right.
But I'm not a big fan of naps anymore.
You don't need them.
No.
Right.
And I do feel like I've got a lot of energy, and not only energy, clarity.
Okay.
I don't have so
confused thoughts.
Yeah, I know I'm having a hard time
saying
saying
to put
this.
words together.
Yeah. I'm doing the exact opposite of what I'm talking about, but there's a lot of clarity in my thinking.
I believe it.
So I really enjoy it. So this means the world to me. Thank you very much.
Hey, well, happy birthday, man.
All right. Hey, well, today's show's kind of cool because June 18th, like I talked about before, we sat down with Boyd Llewelyn. And when we started this podcast, we wanted to talk about how addiction is not just about the addict, it's about the family. And addiction really is a family disease.
Right.
So we had Boyd come on, and whose daughter was an addict, and he kind of told the story from his perspective. Of
his experience as a father.
What he dealt with. And his daughter was just out of recovery and wasn't ready to come on just yet. She wanted to kind of figure out her way into recovery. And I said, well, when you're ready, the mic's yours. You're more than welcome to come. And I got a text the other day from Lauren, and Lauren said, I think I'm ready to tell my story. And here you are. How are you?
Here I am. I'm doing great. Thank you.
So let's how much recovery do you have under your belt?
On the 5th, it will be 1 year.
Congratulations.
So 5 days away, I think. Something like that. 6 days away.
That's amazing.
Awesome. Yep.
Thank you.
And so some of the stuff me and Dr. Matt were talking about, do you find that in your own life? Do you feel you have a little more clarity, a little more energy?
I was nodding my head over here because it's so true. I remember having to just down energy drinks and stuff like that to barely even make it through the day, just to survive.
You figure if you use, that's going to give you the energy.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, I'm tired. You know what's going to help me? A beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm tired. I'm going to take a depressant.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense, but
that's how you think.
It made sense at the time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So did you listen to your dad's episode?
I did.
And what did you think?
I think he did a great job. I mean, there was a few things that were a little exaggerated, but he's entitled to that because it's the way he felt. It was his perception of the situation, so that's okay.
It's his story.
It's his story, and I'm super proud of him.
So let's hear your story. So let's start from the beginning.
Where do you want to start? February 11th, 1988.
That's when you were born?
That's when I was born.
When was the first time you remember using?
I was 13, and I started out with weed and alcohol. I had an older sister who would take me everywhere with her, and we'd party with all of her high school friends. And I had a few of my best friends who kind of went down the same path. We all kind of came from really religious families, really religious backgrounds, and our parents, aside from my dad explaining to me that addiction runs in the family, their only answer to why you shouldn't do those things was because it's bad. So me and my friends who grew up in that environment were like, well, why is it so bad? Why is all these other people doing it and they're fine? Like they're making it through life. They seem to be having fun. Like, why is it so bad? So we decided to jump in and experiment, and it's kind of just been waves for me of sobriety and not, and sobriety and not, and yeah, I just found myself addicted.
Yeah. Refresh our memory and the listener's memory. Tell us a little bit about your family, how many siblings you have, and where you grew up.
Okay. I grew up in West Valley, West Jordan. When we were young, me and my older sister, our parents were super young, so we moved 12 times, I think, from the time I was born to the time I was 8. So we went to a lot of elementary schools and a lot of different apartment buildings and stuff like that.
And those are all 12 moves within the Salt Lake Valley area?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, pretty much. From like Murray to Sugar House, kind of in between those areas. Wherever my mom's salon was at, we kind of followed that area.
Okay, so it was for work?
Yeah, and to get free rent. My parents were very young, and so they would go to the apartment complexes that had like first and last month rent for free if you sign a 6-month lease. So they would sign the 6-month lease. They would catch up on bills, and then we'd move to the next 6-month apartment that offered them the ability to catch up. Yeah.
So it sounds like they were doing what they had to survive.
Absolutely. And I also, in that time, I gained a little brother and a little sister as well. So we have...
So they were doing a little more.
Yeah. We had 4. And at one time, my parents were, I want to say, in their early 30s, and we also fostered 2 girls as well. So we had 6 kids.
Wow.
With 30-year-old parents in a small little house in West Valley. But it worked. Our family, me and my siblings kind of raised each other because my parents were working a lot. And so with the help from my dad's mom and dad and all of us kids, we kind of raised each other. So we have a really super close bond. Still to this day, we still have that, and I'm super grateful for that.
So your road to addiction began when you were 13, and you said it was just with a little marijuana.
Yeah, I guess I would say what led me into being an opiate addict or a heroin addict was when I was 14, I had my first knee surgery. And I remember feeling like there was something missing inside of myself, like there was a hole for something, like I don't know if it was like my worth or whatever, or just discovering myself or whatnot. But I remember taking those pills after the surgery and being like, oh my God, like that hole is gone. Like I feel so good. But it was never anything that I like chased after. And then the next year I had another surgery on my ovaries. I had some crazy things going on there. And I remember the same feeling, getting those pills and being like, oh my God, life is great. Like, this is amazing. And just over the next few years, I've actually had 9 surgeries. So from the time I was 14 to about 26 is when those surgeries took place. And I just remember that feeling of being on the opiates of, oh my God, this is great.
Can I ask, are those related, those surgeries, or are they just randomly different sorts of things?
I am that 1 in 5 billion that gets something. Like I had some crazy lung fungus that they had to cut part of my lung out.
Wow.
I've had 4 knee surgeries. I've had a bunch of stuff done with my mouth and just random things.
So you won the surgery lottery.
I mean, I guess if you want to call it that.
So let me ask, every time that you went in for surgery, were opiates always given to you?
Yes, always. There was never a time that it wasn't.
Probably during most of your life growing up until just recently, that's been the standard pain management medication post-surgery, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I'd have to say that the biggest surgery that probably helped me dive into my opiate addiction would be when I was 23 and I had that lung surgery. And I was in the hospital for 10 days, I think, afterwards. And they had me on a drip of like Dilaudid, I think is what it was called. And I just remember walking around the hospital just like, oh my gosh, I felt like I was floating. I felt like I was in heaven. It was super dreamy. I felt really just like calm and relaxed. And I remember they had me on opiates for like a month after that, and I remember trying to go off of them, and it was like, what's going on with my body? Like, this isn't normal. This doesn't feel good. This is terrible.
What was it like trying to go off?
Oh, the flu times 5,000. My body ached. I felt like I had bugs crawling in my body. My skin, I wanted to just jump out of my skin. I was sneezing, watery eyes. I would throw up. My stomach would be like uncontrollable. So
your body had really developed a dependency over these different surgeries on the opiates. Because
I would go about 2 or 3 months on, and then I would go off for a couple of months, and then bam, I'd have to have another random surgery again. So it's like just when I would be okay with not having them, I would get introduced to them again.
Let me ask, did you ever get excited when you found out a new surgery was coming?
Yes.
Because you knew?
I feel like embarrassed even saying that, but yeah, because I knew what was coming, and I knew that feeling, and it was going to be okay because the doctor gave it to me, right? So it was like an excused pass on being able to like be messed up on opiates. And the older I got, the less time I spent at my parents' house, and my mom was really good at helping me control them. Like, no, you're only having, what it says every 4 to 6 hours or whatever. But when I was home alone, it was like, well, I'm going to take 5 of them right now because I'm going to feel way better. And then I'm going to run out and tell my doctor that I lost my pills or that my purse got stolen. I had every excuse in the world on how they would give me more. And
did that usually work?
Yeah.
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 So when did you start looking elsewhere for your pills?
So I would say when I was 23, when I came off of being on opiates for a few months, I had a friend of mine that was like, oh, my mom, she has all these opiates and she doesn't use them, and so she sells them. Do you want some of them? I was like, oh, yeah, sure. That sounds great. And then that relationship kind of developed with her, and that just kind of, not that it's not her fault by any means. I take accountability for all my own actions, but she made it very easy for me to have availability to them. So I didn't have to go on the streets looking for them. It was a very close relationship behind closed doors. I didn't have to do anything crazy for it or put myself in really any sort of risk. Of course it's a risk having them and not having a prescription, but I felt very safe doing that.
You're listening to Project Recovery. We're hearing Lauren Llewelyn's story. We'll be right back.
Two years ago, Americans watched in horror as a crisis unfolded at the Kabul airport.
She was tear-gassed and beaten.
Images of thousands desperate to escape Taliban oppression filled our news feeds. More than 80,000 Afghans made it to America. But the story didn't end there.
It was very cold. There was no power, no heat.
Who would help our newest neighbors? I'm Andrea Smartin. In Stranger Becomes Neighbor, you'll hear the stories of some remarkable refugees who left their homes and their dreams behind, only to start over from zero.
Their only possession was 3 blankets.
And you'll meet Americans who stepped up to help them.
You want me to come when you deliver your baby.
What can one person do in the face of an international disaster decades in the making? That's Stranger Becomes Neighbor. Find us at kslpodcast.com. Follow us on Apple Podcasts or anywhere else you listen.
So, was she your main supply for your pills? Did you ever have to go outside of her?
I had a few sources. I think being in the scene that I have been a part of forever, it's just available everywhere. And
what's that scene? Just like a party scene?
I've been like a raver since I was 17.
Okay.
And I really resonated with the music because I danced my whole life. From 3 to 18, I did competitive dancing, and it just was something that fed my soul. So when I got introduced to raving, it was like, oh my God, I can dance for 12 hours at a time and have no judgment. This is great. And then, of course, being in that environment, drugs aren't everything about that environment, but they are very
they're a big part of the rave culture, right? Yeah.
So over the years, there was multiple people that I could get them from. For a while there, I knew somebody in Wyoming that I traded weed for, and they didn't like the pills. They just wanted weed, so we swapped out, which also made it very easy for me to feed my addiction. And I felt like there never really was any problem with me getting the pills. What led me into choosing heroin was the fact that I couldn't afford the pills anymore. I didn't even touch heroin until I was 28 years old. And I was a single mom at that time, and I was living on my own, and I just couldn't afford to keep up on my pill habit. So heroin's like a fourth of the price and a lot stronger, so I needed a lot less. And that kind of led me into that path, unfortunately.
So through your addiction, you've taken us up to your age of 28. What were some of the ramifications or some of the things you were dealing with your family at the time?
My family was always supportive. They always wanted me to do good. My dad, since I was 18 years old, has offered rehab to me, and I was always like, oh, I don't need that. I'm good. I justified everything because I moved out at 18 years old. I've always had 2 jobs. I graduated hair school. I have always taken care of myself financially. I never had to ask for anything. And so in my mind, that meant I was okay. That meant that I had no problem. There was no issue because I could take care of myself.
What were your parents seeing? Why was your dad so quick to offer rehab? I mean, it sounds like from your description right there, nobody would have noticed a problem. What were people seeing that made your dad and mom concerned?
Me putting my head in a bowl of ice cream, me not being able to keep my eyes
who hasn't
open.
Put their head in a bowl of ice cream. I mean, it's not a party till that happens, right?
Yeah, certain, car accidents, not showing up for things, showing up hours late, just not being accountable, not being reliable, which even when I moved out very young, I always made sure I kept in contact with my family. We had Sunday dinners every Sunday at their house. And the deeper and deeper I got into my addiction, the more I removed myself from my family because I was embarrassed. I didn't want them to know how bad things actually were.
So as you got farther into your addiction, that withdrawing from this close family unit was a big red flag for your family that there was something wrong because you were so close as a family.
And I've admitted to them before. I had a pretty big pill habit when I got pregnant with my son. And so I had to go through the process of detoxing while being pregnant. And I kind of admitted to my parents at that time that I had, an issue and that I was pretty deep into it, but I was grateful to be pregnant because I felt like it was my saving grace.
It was a sign.
Yeah, it was. And even to this day, I still think that kind of pushed me into wanting to be sober, but not knowing exactly how to get there. And that's why I would have bouts of sobriety where I would go, 6 months without using, 5 months without using, but even though I was physically sober, I was never mentally sober. I was still dealing with a lot of that shame and guilt and regret and just being embarrassed and just wondering how my life got to where it was at and why opiates were the only answer for me. I felt like I was just a lost cause, so it would send me right back out.
And that's a pretty common amongst addicts. And for alcoholics, they say you're a dry alcoholic. That means you've still got all the stuff inside of you. You're just not drinking, but you haven't addressed any of the issues, any of the thing that's going on in your head. And so life at that point didn't get any better. You just weren't drinking. And for an addict to sit and talk to themselves, they go, wait a minute, I'm not drinking and I'm still feeling like crap. Well, I might as well just be drinking. Did you feel that?
Yeah, exactly. It was, I'm not happy sober. I'm not happy messed up. So I might as well be messed up to at least numb myself out to not feel anything. But the problem with that is you don't feel joy, you don't feel happiness, you literally don't feel anything. At least I didn't. For me, I didn't.
I think that's really common. Earlier you mentioned that when you were 13 and 14 and you started experimenting with weed and whatnot, that it sort of filled a void. Did that ever get any better, or did that continue to be that's a hot time in life when we develop our identity, a sense of self, who we believe that we are, our personality and self-esteem. And did that ever get any better, or did you feel like that continued to be undeveloped in you?
I think that it was probably still undeveloped. I want to say that the biggest thing that set me off for having that void or feeling like not worthy enough or not good enough is being brought up in the religious family that I was. I knew at a very young age that I liked boys and I liked girls. And I remember telling the bishop of my ward that, and he told me that, I would never be with my family, that I was bad and wrong. And because of that, I felt like there was always something wrong with me. I felt like not good enough, like not worthy enough to even go on. So I was always looking for something that would make me feel good.
Make you whole.
Make me whole.
And that's such a personal part of who a person is, and at a young age trying to understand, our sexual identity, our sexuality. And when a person receives those kind of messages that being gay or bisexual is wrong, then they do feel like I'm wrong, I'm bad. And that really messes up that ability to develop a healthy self-esteem and confidence in who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where are you at with that today? I mean, has that been a long journey and feeling comfortable with your sexuality?
Yeah, it wasn't until I was about probably like, I want to say like 25 or 26 that I even said anything to like my siblings. This will be the first time my parents hear about it. I think they might have heard about it a little bit while I was in treatment.
You've never spoken to your parents about this?
No, because of fear of, I don't know, them feeling like they didn't do something right, or that they messed up somewhere along the way, which I know that they already kind of feel that way because of the life that I have chosen. But I don't know, like, I guess I wasn't fully okay with that fact of feeling that way. And at such a young age, being told I was wrong because of it, it was like, okay, well, I better not tell anybody. I would never, even though I dated girls, through high school and after high school, I would never bring them home. I would never tell anybody other than my friends, that was the situation because of fear of, I guess, just not being accepted. Although now, knowing that how open my parents are and how accepting they are, I wish that I would have said that a lot younger, because I think that it could have helped me find myself a little bit more or fill that void. I was always looking for acceptance, so I lost my virginity at a really young age, and that was really traumatizing to me. I put myself through a lot of abusive relationships, toxic relationships, just wanting to be loved, wanting to be needed, wanting to be wanted.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that. I know those are very personal things and difficult to talk about, but I'm glad you're talking about it because that's how things improve and that's how we grow and develop. I think you're highlighting something that is so important for people to understand, and that is at a very tender young age when a person is developing their sense of who they are, when an authority figure tells you that you're bad, and that's a really heavy word. That's bad, that's wrong to be who you are. It is very damaging to the rest of that, your ability to feel like, well, of course you wouldn't tell your parents because you don't want your parents to
I don't want to be bad.
To be bad,
Yeah.
to think you're bad. And of course you wouldn't tell your siblings and other people and then it creates this kind of duality of how you see yourself. Like,
Right.
I'm this bad, kind of dirty, wrong person, but this other part of me people seem to like, and I'm happy and good. And so when we start to have that good, bad label with kids and their sense of, something so personal as your sexual identity, that's a really damaging thing to have an authority figure tell you. So I'm sorry that was your experience, but I'm really glad that you're willing to bring it up and talk about it now. Was it in treatment? Was that the first time that you really got into more of a therapeutic conversation about sexuality?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think that I ever realized that was something that was so damaging to me until I was in treatment and started just talking about everything and
Pulling back the layers.
Yeah, being 100% honest with myself. And that is something that it's weighed heavy on me for a really long time.
I can sense some relief by you saying this out loud. This has been emotional for you. And this is quite the place to announce this.
Can I ask you kind of a heavy question? And that is, what do you think about, do you consider yourself bisexual as an adult? And so do you think that's wrong or bad now?
No, not at all. I mean, for me, I've always dropped hints to my parents because we'd always have battles about gay marriage and stuff like that. And for me, it's not really even about loving like a boy or a girl. It's just about loving their soul and who they are and who, what their energy has to offer me and how I feel when I'm with them. And I used to always say that to my parents, and they would just kind of brush it off like, oh yeah, that's my crazy hippie daughter, like whatever. But that's truly how I feel. Like I'm happily with a boyfriend right now. I hope we get married. We talk about it all the time.
Hint, hint.
Yes. No. We dated back in high school, and he just barely came back around 2 years ago.
Okay.
14 years later. So there has to be something there,
Yeah.
I know there's something there. He's great. Super patient.
Well, I think it's interesting. What you're describing is actually more common than a lot of people would understand. A person whose sexual identity and development is kind of the norm, just a normative sort of heterosexual development, they have a hard time understanding that there are quite a few people who their sexual attraction does have more to do with the connection with the person and not so much the person's gender.
Absolutely.
And so they have that fluidity in who they are attracted to romantically. And that can be a difficult concept for a lot of people to grasp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're listening to Project Recovery, and we're listening to Lauren's story. Make sure you tune into part 2 to hear the rest.
The contents of this program are for informational purposes only. The program is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician, licensed therapist, or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you've heard on this program. KSL does not recommend or endorse any specific tests, physicians, products, procedures, opinions, or other information that may be mentioned on the program. Reliance on any information provided on the program is solely at your own risk.